From family home to one of America's most haunted places. What happened in this house that caused it to become so haunted? Hi loves, it's Aura. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's episode of A Haunted History, we will be traveling to California to discuss the Whaley House and the hauntings surrounding the property. I have been near the building when exploring the Old Town, but never to it. If I had known at the time that it was so haunted, this will be the first of about 6 haunted videos in a row as we prepare for the Sims 4 Paranormal Stuff Pack. Next week, we will be heading to Italy to discuss one of the most haunted places in the country. I will also be bumping the time of my videos back to see if that works better for you all. As with most of my A Haunted History videos, this video will discuss themes that can be upsetting to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Located in San Diego, California, the Whaley House has been called the most haunted house in America by both Time magazine and the Travel Channel's America's Most Haunted. The building had modest beginnings, but it can be said that the house was destined to be haunted since its inception. The land that the house was constructed on was the site of an old graveyard and gallows, where the hangings were done off of the back of wagons. One of the town's most famous public executions was done at these gallows, that of the infamous thief James Robinson, also known as Yankee Jim, who was convicted of attempted grand larceny in 1852. His death was not a quick one. Jim was a tall man, and according to one newspaper at the time, he kept his toes on the back of the wagon for as long as possible, causing him to swing back and forth until he slowly strangled to death instead of having his neck snapped. Some sources say this took from 15 to 45 minutes. Thomas Whaley was in the crowd at this execution. Thomas was born on October 5, 1823 in New York City and was of Scots-Irish origin. He was the 7th child in a family of 10. He took over his father's successful business relations and then left New York City for San Francisco on January 1, 1849, to engage in the California Gold Rush. 2 years later, he went back to New York City and married Anna Eloise Delaunay on August 14, 1853. In December of the same year, they returned to California, but San Diego this time. Thomas bought the land to build his future house in 1855 and began construction on what would be his family home on May 6, 1856. The Whaley House was the first brick house constructed in California and was built by bricks from his own brickyard. It was built in the Greek Revival style that was popular at the time and was known as the finest house in Southern California, complete with mahogany and rosewood features, Brussels carpets, and damask drapes. It was considered a mansion for its time. Thomas said to one newspaper, "My new house, when completed, will be the most handsome, most comfortable, and convenient place in town or within 150 miles of here." And he was right. It was quite the social hotspot for people flocking there for the fireplaces and furnishings. Back in the early period of San Diego, many of the houses were made of adobe, so the Whaley House was quite the upgrade. The house was finished 2 years later, on August 22, 1857, and the cost for the house totaled more than $10,000, which would be almost $300,000 today. Shortly after the house's completion, Thomas moved his wife Anna and their 3 children, Francis Hinton, Thomas Jr., and Anna Amelia, into the home. A few months later, he opened a general store inside of the residence. It wasn't long before the Whaley family experienced their first of many tragedies inside the house. Their young son, Thomas Jr., died of scarlet fever within the home on January 29, 1858. He was only 18 months old. Then, a couple of years later, a fire raged within the home which destroyed the general store, and it was believed to be arson. It was at this point that Thomas decided to pack the family up and move north to San Francisco, where they remained for several years. In the summer of 1868, Thomas invested some of his new capital into merchandise, and he moved back to repair the home. In December of that year, Anna and the rest of the Whaley family, now with 5 children, made the move down to San Diego. It is believed that the restoration process was rushed along due to the 1868 Hayward earthquake that hit the Bay Area in October of the same year. Once the family returned, the house was once again bustling with activity. It became the headquarters for the city's courthouse, San Diego's first theater troupe, and general store. On November 1st, 1868, Thomas Tanner, the proprietor of the Tanner Troupe, had rented out the theater for his company for a $20 gold coin. The room had a capacity for 150 people, standing room only. Women were requested to arrive without hoop skirts to allow for more room. The charge was 50 cents for general admission and 75 cents for reserved seating. The shows were a success, but the success was destined to be short-lived. Tanner mysteriously died in the upper floors of the Whaley House a mere 15 days after their first performance. After this, the Tanner Troupe disbanded, and the theater was used by other performers. By February of the following year, the theater closed, and the county of San Diego started renting the space to use as record storage. Then, by December, a new theater called Horton's Hall opened with the seating for 400, and the Whaley Theater wasn't used again until 1966, when it was used in a production, 133 years after the creation of the theater. By 1870, local merchants and businesses started moving to the newly established New Town, now called the Gaslamp Quarter, abandoning Old Town and leaving it eerily quiet. Thomas was determined to make this work and continued to live in the home. During this time, Thomas had been stuck in the middle of a battle between the Old Town residents and the New Town residents. Since he had been renting out portions of his home to the county so that they could use it as his courthouse, he offered to sell the building to the county, but the offer was ignored. Since most of the residents and businesses had moved to Newtown, they wanted their legal documents closer to them. The main turning point for the family could be contributed to one event in 1871. Thomas was away on a business trip and Anna was alone with the children. A group of armed Newtowners, led by the county clerk, held Anna at gunpoint as they seized the courthouse records from the home. Once Thomas returned home, he wrote to the Board of Supervisors, expressing that the lease had not run out and demanded rent and repairs to the building that was damaged during the forcible removal of the documents. These were ultimately ignored. On January 5, 1882, 2 of the Whaley daughters got married in the home. Anna Amelia married her first cousin, John T. Whaley. The younger of the 2, Violet, married a man named George Bertolacci. When the couple was traveling back from their honeymoon, Violet woke up to find George gone. Apparently, George was a con artist and thought that he would receive a large dowry from the Whaley family. Due to the societal standards at the time, Violet was shunned by polite society when she returned home, not only without her husband, but unchaperoned, something proper ladies simply didn't do in the late 19th century Victorian period. Their divorce was finalized about a year later, but Violet never recovered from the public humiliation and betrayal, and fell into a deep depression. Eventually, it all became too much to bear, and she attempted suicide by jumping down the well. Thomas is quoted saying, "On July 5th, I was harnessing my horse and heard a scream issuing from the cistern. Went there and found Violet hanging on to the pipe. Asked if she could hold on. She said yes. I ran to the house and told my wife Violet had jumped into the cistern." But this would not be the last time she would try and take her own life. On August 18, 1885, she committed suicide by shooting herself in the chest with her father's .32 caliber in the backyard privy. Thomas heard the noise and carried her inside to the parlor, where she died about 15 minutes later. She was only 22 years old. She left a suicide note that quoted a poem by Thomas Hood. The note along with the gun are still on display at the house today. Corinne Lillian was engaged at the time of her sister's death, but her fiancé broke off the engagement due to the scandal her sister's death raised. At this point, Thomas decided to build a new house at 933 State Street in downtown San Diego, and the family moved in, leaving the Whaley House vacant for over 2 decades. This would be the home that Thomas died in on December 14, 1890, due to ill health. During this time, the old Whaley House had fallen into disrepair. In late 1909, Francis Whaley started the restoration process and opened the house into a tourist attraction, promoting its historicity. In 1912, Anna, Thomas's widow, along with Corinne Lillian, Francis, and George, all lived at the home. Anna died in the house on February 24, 1913, at 80 years old. A year later, Francis died at the home. Corinne continued to live in the home until her death in 1953. During its restoration process, which took place numerous times over the years, workers and visitors began to notice strange occurrences within the home, including strange noises, smells, and ghostly encounters. Thomas, Anna, and several other spirits are said to still linger within the home, on the stairwells, and around the property. Though Thomas died in his house on State Street, it appears that he returned to the Whaley House to join the rest of his family in the afterlife. Many visitors have seen Thomas still dressed in his frock, pantaloons, and top hat standing at the top of the stairs. He seems to be staring at them, confused as to how they got in his house or why they are there. Others have reported Thomas appearing in front of them, blowing smoke from his Cuban cigars into their faces and then disappearing. Sometimes the lingering scent of cigar smoke can be smelled throughout the house. People have reported seeing Anna shortly after smelling her French perfume and hearing the click of her heels. She is mainly found in the parlor and garden and is said to appear to young people in an attempt to welcome and interact with them. Fresh pies and baked bread can also be smelled wafting out of the kitchen, through the serving window, and into the dining room. Corinne wrote in her memoirs that she saw both of her parents within the house shortly before her death. The apparition of a young woman is said to be seen on the 2nd floor of the house. This is believed to be the spirit of Violet, who is still consumed with sorrow. After her divorce, she became a recluse and kept herself to the 2nd story of the house before her death. Many guests are struck with an intense feeling of sadness and despair upon entering one of the 2nd floor bedrooms. It is usually so overwhelming that most guests have to flee the oppressing feeling, which seems to clear once they reach the 1st floor. When she appears, people say that they can see her gazing out of an upstairs window long after the house has closed to visitors. Baby Thomas, who was the first in the family to die, is said to still inhabit the Whaley House. Visitors to the home have been known to hear tiny footsteps and hear him crying and giggling when no one was in sight. Another spirit said to still inhabit the home is George Whaley. He is said to enjoy contacting paranormal teams through voice technology. He is even known to use words that are not in the databases for the technology, often using people's names when talking to them and introducing himself. Maritza Skadunas, founder of the San Diego Ghost Hunters, caught these 2 clips while investigating the home.
Hi, George.
Oh, hi, George. How are you? Whaley.
There are also sightings of a little girl that will appear primarily in the dining room. This is believed to be the ghost of Thomas and Anna's great-granddaughter, who lived in the house for a time and came back to be with her family. She will often tug on people's clothes and can be seen running in and out of the dining room and down the hall. Even the Whaley's dog, Dolly, is said to haunt the home. One parapsychologist said that they saw a dog running down the hall and into the dining room. Their cat, Winks, can also be seen playing with Dolly. Guests have also felt something brush up against their legs. Jim Robinson apparently still haunts the home. Thomas has been quoted as saying that the archway from the parlor into the study sits directly on top of the spot that Jim was hanged. Many people believe that archways and doorways can be portals into the afterlife, so the archway was extremely ill-placed. It is said that when he manifests, eerie noises, loud footsteps, and disembodied footprints can be found in the building. Visitors have captured pictures of a lanky man with Jim's description. These strange occurrences terrified the Whaley family throughout their lives. Before tragedy even struck the family, they told a local newspaper that their house was inhabited by a poltergeist that they believed was Robinson. People to tour the home have reported getting scratches on their neck while walking up or down the stairs. Others would say that they feel objects tighten around their neck and have rope-like ligature marks upon investigation. This phenomenon seems to target men, particularly police officers, and it is thought that it is Robinson exacting revenge for his death. Some other anomalies that can be experienced are mists, lights turning on and off by themselves, keys to the organ being played by spectral fingers, and crystals from the lamp in the parlor swinging, seemingly by themselves. Sometimes you can also hear silverware hitting china plates, hints of a dinner party underway on another plane. Other people have reported curtains moving in all of the windows, even though the windows have been sealed closed. The disembodied sounds of children running throughout the house and up and down stairs can be heard. There have also been shadows that appear and disappear that can be seen by guests. While the room that was rented out by the theater troupe wasn't used for very long, the sounds of vaudeville music and laughter can be heard echoing from the room on certain nights. It is said that Tanner still puts on spectral shows every so often. The Whaley House is considered a California historical landmark and has been open as a museum since May 25, 1960. It is also a popular stop for ghost tours and is currently maintained by Save Our Heritage organization. The Whaley House has been featured in both movies such as The Haunting of Whaley House and books describing the hauntings. It has also been in several TV shows, including America's Most Haunted and Ghost Adventures. The house has also attracted celebrities, including Regis Philbin. He has said, "You know, a lot of people poo-poo it because they can't see it, but there was something going on in that house." So, what do you think? Is the Whaley House truly haunted? Or can these reports be explained away as overactive imagination? Let me know down below. As always, thank you for watching this episode of A Haunted History. If you have any suggestions of what my next episode should cover, let me know down below. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. It really helps me with the YouTube algorithm. If you want to be notified as soon as I post a new video, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to turn notifications on. I post new videos every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the occasional surprise video. Thank you so much for watching this video. Stay safe and stay spooky, friends, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, loves!